Why did Jungkook suddenly look too young and too mature for Chanel? The viral photos that shocked Western netizens and sparked a worldwide debate. How can a single photograph cause millions of people to question everything they thought they knew about a global superstar? Why did one quiet black and white image of Jungkook ignite such chaos, disbelief, and emotional confusion across Western social media? And what exactly did Chanel see in him? Something the world may have overlooked until now. These questions have dominated global timelines ever since Chanel officially announced Jungkook as their newest global ambassador for fragrance and beauty, an appointment that instantly became one of the biggest fashion stories of the year. But what turned this announcement into a phenomenon wasn't the title, the contract, or even the prestige of Chanel. It was the visuals, the simple, elegant, shadow-kissed photos that revealed a version of Jungkook the world hadn't fully acknowledged until now, because the moment Chanel released that first silent, monochrome portrait, something strange happened. Western netizens, who had long described Jungkook as baby-faced, too youthful, too pretty, or too boyish, were suddenly stunned into silence. Many admitted they barely recognized him at first. They didn't expect his expression to carry the weight of timeless icons. They didn't expect him to look this still, this confident, this cinematic, this adult. And yet, alongside the shock came a contradiction so dramatic it became the core of the global conversation. Some Western viewers insisted he looked too young for Chanel, while others said he suddenly looked shockingly mature and too grown for someone in his 20s. How can one man look too young and too mature at the same time? That exact paradox is the reason this story refuses to die down. From the instant Chanel's Instagram stories posted the announcement, echoed within minutes by fan account at DreamJans at 8:09 Western Indonesian time, the internet exploded. The images showed Jungkook in a loose black sweater, hair falling softly around his face, an earring catching the light in a way that seemed almost intentional. His expression was still, contemplative, and overwhelmingly elegant. There was no flashy styling or exaggerated concept. Just Jungkook, captured in a way that felt both timeless and disarmingly intimate. That simplicity created the shock. Fans understood it immediately, but Western netizens struggled. They weren't used to seeing a Korean male idol presented like an old Hollywood star or a Parisian classic figure. They weren't prepared for the quiet intensity, the mature aura, the grown man presence that Jungkook delivered so effortlessly. Many asked, when did Jungkook grow up? Others wondered, why hasn't the West seen this side before? And a large number questioned, is this the same golden Magne from BTS, or is this a new era entirely? The debate grew even louder when Chanel's official caption emphasized that Jungkook represented a house that cherishes its timeless heritage while reinventing itself with relevant modernity. Fans quickly pointed out how this description matched Jungkook perfectly. Chanel wasn't just choosing a face. They were choosing a symbol of generational transition, cultural expansion, and global influence. But the world wanted answers. Why were people so shocked by the photos? Why did Jungkook look different? What changed? Some blamed the lighting, saying the shadows sharpened his features in a way Western audiences had never seen. Others credited the styling, minimal enough to highlight the natural intensity of his gaze. But many ARMY insisted the real reason is deeper. Jungkook has been evolving for years, but because of stereotypes about young K-pop idols, many Western viewers refused to notice. This Chanel campaign forced them to confront the truth. Jungkook is not a boy. He is not merely the youngest member of BTS. He is an adult man with presence, depth, and emotional gravitas. And Chanel captured it with surgical precision. The confusion, admiration, and emotional reactions that followed were proof. Western viewers, who often associate maturity with age rather than aura, were caught off guard. They didn't expect someone in his 20s to embody the kind of stillness and classical elegance Chanel is known for. They didn't expect him to fit into the lineage of icons who defined generations of luxury advertising, but Chanel did. And that is exactly why this collaboration feels historic. For years, Jungkook has been recognized in Asia as the embodiment of duality, sweet but powerful, youthful but grounded, playful but deeply introspective. The West, however, often locked him in an old image, one that no longer reflects who he has become. Chanel's visuals tore that image apart in a matter of seconds, the contradiction Western netizens expressed, calling him too young while simultaneously admitting he looks like a European film star, reveals the global shift currently happening. People are being forced to reevaluate who Jungkook is, not as an idol, but as a cultural figure, and that raises the ultimate question. If Jungkook's visual evolution can shock the world this much, what will the full Chanel campaign reveal? Speculation is out of control. Some fans predict a noir-style fragrance film reminiscent of old Chanel No. 5 ads. Others imagine a minimalist, poetic concept set in a Paris atelier. Some believe Chanel will showcase Jungkook in a raw, intimate way, something that blends his natural aura with the house's legacy of subtle luxury. Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain: the campaign will redefine more than aesthetics. It will reshape global perceptions of masculinity, beauty, and representation. Jungkook, with his global reach of more than 50 million followers, represents a new generation of luxury consumers, diverse, boundary-breaking, and emotionally connected to the identities they support. Chanel understands this. That's why they chose him, not just for his fame, but for his cultural power. And so the conversation continues. Thousands of posts multiply by the hour. Hashtags like hashtag Jungkook for Chanel Beauty and hashtag JUNGKOOKCHANELBUTY trend globally, but underneath the celebration lies one electrifying question the world cannot stop asking. If this is how Jungkook looks today, calm, elegant, impossibly mature, how will he look tomorrow once Chanel unveils the full campaign? Because the truth is undeniable now. Jungkook's transformation is not a phase. IT is not marketing. IT is not an illusion created by one black and white photo. IT is the natural evolution of an artist stepping into his global era. An era where he is no longer seen as just a K-pop idol, but as a timeless figure capable of redefining the language of beauty and modern luxury. And perhaps that is why the world reacted so emotionally, not because Jungkook changed, but because for the first time, they were finally able to see the man he has become. And now the only question left is, are we prepared for the next chapter of Jungkook x Chanel, or will the world be shocked all over again? The more the discussion spreads, the more the world realizes that this moment, this exact moment, is not just about a luxury brand appointing a global ambassador. It is about a silent shift in cultural perception, triggered by the face of one man who has spent more than a decade growing under the brightest spotlight in the music industry. And now, under Chanel's carefully sculpted lighting, that growth is finally visible to all. But why did it take a black and white photo for the world to acknowledge Jungkook's evolution? Why did the West need a luxury fashion house to validate maturity that ARMY has seen developing since his teenage years? And why are people so emotional about it, almost as if they're witnessing a rite of passage? Perhaps it is because Jungkook is no longer just the golden magne. That title belonged to the boy who sang, danced, laughed, and grew under the protective wings of 6 older members. It belonged to the Jungkook who was discovering himself in front of millions. It belonged to the era when innocence and ambition coexisted in his expression. But this new Jungkook, this man wrapped in shadows, framed by the monochrome elegance of Chanel, represents something different, something more profound, something the world cannot easily categorize. He represents arrival, not the beginning of a journey, but the moment in a story when the protagonist steps fully into his identity. And that is exactly what the Chanel photos captured. An artist who no longer needs to prove who he is, because his presence speaks louder than any introduction. It's the kind of silent confidence that only surfaces after years of pressure, success, heartbreak, discipline, and self-reflection. The kind that comes from surviving the world's highest expectations. The kind that comes from learning how to breathe calmly in a storm of global attention. Fans saw it immediately. Critics saw it reluctantly. Western netizens saw it with shock. Chanel saw it before anyone else. Some internet users pointed out how Jungkook's features have subtly matured, his jawline more pronounced, his expressions quieter but more intense, his presence more grounded. Others discussed how luxury fashion often reveals sides of celebrities that ordinary lighting cannot capture. But many fans insisted that the maturity Chanel unveiled is simply the natural result of growth growth that the world ignored until a prestigious brand framed it through their lens. For years, Jungkook walked a delicate line between boyish charm and masculine presence. Now that line has dissolved completely, and that unresolved contradiction between looking too young and too mature has become the very essence of his new appeal. It is what makes the Chanel photos irresistible. Jungkook embodies timelessness without losing youthfulness, and youthfulness without losing depth. It is a rare duality that fashion houses spend years searching for. But what does this mean for the future? Insiders speculate that Chanel's decision to appoint Jungkook marks the beginning of a major shift in how beauty and fragrance brands engage with global audiences. The West is starting to embrace the nuances of Asian masculinity: quiet strength, emotional intelligence, elegance without aggression, maturity without aging. Jungkook represents that shift so perfectly that his appointment feels almost inevitable in hindsight, and as the world awaits the full campaign, anticipation continues to intensify. What if the next set of photos reveals an even deeper dimension of Jungkook's identity? What if Chanel has only shown a fraction of the aesthetic story they intend to tell? What if this partnership becomes the next iconic collaboration in fashion history, reshaping how luxury and global pop culture intersect? Already, industry experts are calling this one of the most significant ambassador appointments of the decade. Jungkook's influence, amplified by BTS' global legacy, has the potential to transform Chanel's entire presence in markets that traditionally leaned toward Western faces. His appointment signifies a recognition of Asia's cultural power and the growing understanding that K-pop is not a trend, but a force. But perhaps the most emotional aspect of this entire moment lies not in fashion, branding, or market influence. It lies in the deeply personal connection between Jungkook and the fans who have watched him grow for more than 10 years. For them, the Chanel photos are not surprising. They are validating. They see the man he has become. They know the journey he took to stand where he is. They understand why his eyes look calmer, why his expression feels deeper, why his aura has shifted from youthful spark to sophisticated flame. They know this Jungkook is the result of years of perseverance, commitment, and quiet transformation. And so, as the world continues to debate whether he looks too young, too mature, too elegant, too unexpected, or too perfect for Chanel, ARMY sees the truth that lies beneath every argument. Jungkook has always carried this aura. The world is simply witnessing it clearly for the first time. As discussions intensify and predictions multiply, the central question remains: what will the full Chanel campaign reveal about Jungkook's next era? Will it expose even more layers of his maturity? Will it redefine his place in global fashion? Will it spark new conversations about representation, masculinity, and beauty? Or will it do something even more unexpected, something only Jungkook can do? Will it make the world fall in love with him all over again? Because if one black and white photo could shake the internet, reshape public perception, and rewrite his global identity, then the upcoming campaign has the potential to become one of the most defining moments of his career. And when that moment arrives, the world may finally understand that Jungkook is not too young for Chanel. He is not too mature for Chanel. He is exactly what Chanel has been waiting for. And perhaps, without realizing it, he is exactly what the world has been waiting for too. Yet the most mesmerizing part of this unfolding story is not the conversation happening online. It is the silence surrounding what Chanel is preparing behind closed doors. Silence that feels intentional. Silence that feels heavy. Silence that feels like the quiet before a cultural reset, because Chanel does not choose ambassadors randomly. They do not tease campaigns without purpose. They do not release black and white portraits unless they are introducing a narrative the world is about to follow. And if Jungkook's first images already sparked global discourse, what will the second wave unleash? Industry watchers are whispering. Editors from Paris and Seoul claim a larger rollout is underway, one that could redefine Jungkook's place not only in fashion, but in modern beauty standards. Some sources even speculate that Chanel is crafting a multi-phase story, a visual evolution that mirrors Jungkook's own transition from youth to adulthood, from rising star to global authority. And this is where the anticipation grows almost unbearable, because if this is the preview, what does the full story look like? Many fans believe Chanel will go deeper. darker lighting, heavier shadows. Minimalist sets that force the viewer to focus on Jungkook's expressions, the stillness of his posture, the maturity of his presence. Others imagine a fragrance film with Jungkook walking through a Paris street before dawn, the air cold, the camera close enough to capture the warmth in his breath. Some insist Chanel will highlight his tattoos, his piercings, his individuality, blending them with the house's historical elegance in a way no ambassador has done before.